Imagine waking up one morning beside the person who stood by you through every hardship, every financial struggle, every family celebration, and convincing yourself that they're the problem. This isn't just a story about cheating. It's a story about temptation, pride, manipulation, and the devastating price of confusing excitement with genuine love. If you're new here, subscribe and let me know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in his shoes? For nearly 18 years, Grace and Jonathan had built what most people considered a respectable life. Not perfect, not glamorous, but stable. Jonathan worked as a civil engineer. His salary wasn't extraordinary, but it paid the bills comfortably. Grace had stopped working after their second child was born. Once the children grew older, she never really returned to full-time employment. Jonathan never pressured her. Their children eventually moved away for university. The house became unusually quiet. At first, they enjoyed the peace. Weekend breakfasts, evening walks, watching old movies together. But slowly, silence settled between them. Jonathan buried himself in work. Grace buried herself in boredom. She began scrolling endlessly through social media, comparing her ordinary life to carefully edited snapshots of strangers vacationing in Greece, smiling beside luxury cars, celebrating anniversaries with extravagant surprises. She never admitted it out loud, but envy quietly planted itself inside her heart. And also regret that she wasted away many years of her life by not chasing excitement. One afternoon, while talking with a neighbor, Grace heard about an upscale fitness center that specialized in helping women over 40 rediscover themselves. The slogan alone fascinated her, "Rediscover yourself." It sounded exciting, different. Jonathan encouraged her. "You've been saying you wanted a hobby," he smiled. "Go for it." He even paid for the yearly membership. Neither of them realized that one decision would destroy nearly 2 decades of marriage. The fitness center felt nothing like the local gyms Grace remembered. Everything looked luxurious. Modern lighting, expensive equipment, energetic music. People dressed like fitness influencers instead of ordinary members. Then she met him. His name was Liam. 28 years old. Confident, athletic, charismatic. He knew exactly how to make clients feel important. He complimented their progress, remembered everyone's names, maintained constant eye contact whenever someone spoke. Grace hadn't felt truly noticed in years. And that too, from someone younger. During their first consultation, Liam smiled warmly. "You've got amazing potential." She laughed. "I'm too old for potential." He shook his head. "No. You've just forgotten who you are." Those words echoed in her mind all evening. Jonathan noticed her unusually cheerful mood. "You seem happier." "I think this gym was exactly what I needed. I'm glad." He genuinely meant it. Over the next few months, Grace transformed. She lost weight, bought new clothes, changed her hairstyle, started wearing makeup more frequently. Jonathan complimented every change. "You look beautiful." She barely looked up from her phone. "Thanks." Most evenings she stayed longer after workouts. According to Grace, Liam recommended extra stretching sessions, nutrition consultations, private coaching. Jonathan never questioned it. Trust had always been the foundation of their marriage. Why would he start now? Liam gradually shifted their conversations away from fitness. He asked about her childhood, her dreams, her regrets, her marriage. Grace found herself sharing things she'd never spoken aloud. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Liam nodded sympathetically. That happens when someone spends years living for everyone else. She felt understood. What she failed to realize: Liam had heard nearly identical stories from several clients before. He knew exactly which emotional buttons to press. Meanwhile, Jonathan continued working overtime. One evening he came home carrying flowers. No anniversary, no birthday, just a small reminder of their love. Grace accepted them politely before setting them on the kitchen counter. "They're lovely." Then her phone vibrated. A message from Liam. Jonathan noticed the smile that instantly appeared across her face. He assumed it was one of the children. He smiled too. "I love seeing you happy." Grace suddenly felt guilty. For a moment. Then she convinced herself she deserved happiness. Real happiness. Not routine. Not predictability. Excitement. Months passed. Text messages became daily conversations. Daily conversations became phone calls. Phone calls became secret lunches after workouts. She ignored how quickly she hid her phone whenever Jonathan entered the room. She ignored how often she lied about where she'd been. She ignored the growing distance inside her own home. Deep down, she knew exactly what she was doing. She simply wasn't ready to admit it. One rainy afternoon, Liam invited her to a cafe across town. "No gym talk today," he grinned. "Just coffee." Grace hesitated, then agreed. 3 hours disappeared in what felt like minutes. He made her laugh. He complimented her intelligence. He called her beautiful. Not pretty for her age. Not attractive despite getting older. Beautiful. She hadn't heard that word in years. When she returned home late that evening, Jonathan had already prepared dinner. He smiled. I kept your plate warm. Grace stared at him. Instead of gratitude, she felt irritation. Somehow his kindness now seemed ordinary. Predictable. Boring. That frightened her. But only briefly. The emotional affair crossed a line 2 weeks later. Liam reached across the caf table and held her hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed his fingers back. Nothing needed to be said. Both of them understood exactly what that moment meant. From that day forward, the lies became much bigger. Jonathan noticed changes he couldn't explain. Grace guarded her phone, started sleeping facing the opposite direction, canceled date nights, criticized everything. His clothes, his work, his habits, even the way he chewed his food. He wondered if he'd somehow changed. He apologized for things he didn't understand. I'm sorry if I've been distracted. Grace shrugged. You've been distracted for years. Jonathan sat quietly. He searched his memory. Had he? Maybe. Work had been demanding. But every overtime shift had been for their future. Their retirement. Their children's education. Their home. He never imagined those sacrifices would someday be used against him. One Saturday afternoon, Jonathan decided to surprise Grace by bringing lunch to the gym. He carried her favorite sandwich, a fresh fruit smoothie, and a handwritten note. I miss spending time with you. When he arrived, the receptionist looked confused. Grace. She left over an hour ago. Jonathan frowned. Maybe she's with Liam finishing a session. The receptionist checked the schedule. Liam hasn't had any clients since noon. Jonathan thanked her politely, walked back to his car, and for the first time in 18 years, a terrible feeling settled in his stomach. Not anger. Just a quiet fear that the woman he loved might already be gone. Jonathan sat inside his car for nearly 20 minutes. His hands rested on the steering wheel, but his mind refused to settle. Maybe Grace had gone shopping. Maybe the receptionist had made a mistake. He wanted to believe any explanation that didn't involve betrayal. After 18 years of marriage, trust doesn't disappear in a single afternoon. It cracks slowly. Jonathan drove home without calling her. When Grace finally walked through the front door 2 hours later, she looked startled to see him sitting quietly in the living room. I thought you'd still be at work. I took the afternoon off. She forced a smile. Oh. I stopped by the gym. For the first time, Jonathan saw genuine panic flash across her face. You did. They said you'd already left. Grace recovered quickly. I met Melissa for coffee afterward. Jonathan nodded. I didn't know you two were talking again. We'd been reconnecting. It sounded believable, but something about the way she avoided his eyes bothered him. He wanted to ask more questions. Instead, he simply said, I'm glad you made a friend. Grace disappeared upstairs, carrying the weight of another lie. That evening, Jonathan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, little moments from the past few months replayed in his head. Late-night texts. The sudden interest in looking younger. The secretive phone calls. The constant criticism. None of it had seemed suspicious by itself. Together, it painted a picture he desperately wished was untrue. The following week, Grace and Liam became bolder. Their meetings were no longer limited to cafes. They rented hotel rooms under Liam's name. He constantly reminded her how different she was from other women. You understand me? I've never felt this connected to anyone. You deserve someone who appreciates you. Grace soaked in every word. She convinced herself this was real love. The kind she'd somehow missed all those years. What she didn't know. Liam repeated almost identical lines to several women before her. Charm was his greatest talent. Honesty wasn't. Jonathan noticed another strange change. Their joint savings account had several large withdrawals. $5,000. Then another $3,000. Then several expensive purchases from luxury boutiques. When he asked about them, Grace answered casually. I wanted to refresh my wardrobe. Jonathan didn't argue. They had enough savings. Still, the spending felt unlike her. One evening, Jonathan's sister Rebecca stopped by unexpectedly. She hugged him before whispering, Can we talk privately? Jonathan looked confused. They stepped onto the back patio. Rebecca hesitated. I wasn't sure whether to tell you. Tell me what? I saw Grace. Where? Downtown. With another man. Jonathan felt his stomach tighten. They looked. Rebecca searched for the right words. Very close. Jonathan stared at the ground. When? 3 days ago. I hoped I was mistaken. I'm sorry. Jonathan thanked her for telling him. He never mentioned it to Grace. Not that night. Not yet. Because a part of him still hoped there was another explanation. But truth has a way of revealing itself. The following Friday, Jonathan left work early because of a severe headache. As he entered the house, he realized Grace wasn't home. Her gym bag was gone. Without really thinking, he drove toward the fitness center. Her car wasn't there. He checked the parking lot twice. Nothing. An uneasy feeling guided him toward the small boutique hotel located just a few streets away. He had no reason to stop there. Except instinct. He parked across the street. 10 minutes later, he saw Grace, laughing, holding hands with Liam. They walked out of the hotel lobby together. Liam kissed her forehead before opening the passenger door of her car. Jonathan couldn't move. The world around him became strangely quiet. His chest felt hollow. Not because he lacked proof anymore. Because the woman he had trusted with his entire life had become someone he no longer recognized. He didn't confront them. He simply drove away. That night, Grace came home smiling. Jonathan was sitting at the dining table. 2 cups of tea rested between them. "We need to talk." Grace froze. "What about?" Jonathan slid a photograph across the table. He had taken it from inside his car. Grace and Liam leaving the hotel. Hand in hand. Grace looked at the picture. Then closed her eyes. Neither of them spoke for several seconds. Finally, Jonathan asked quietly, "How long?" Grace opened her eyes. 8 months. Jonathan nodded slowly. "Were you ever going to tell me?" "I didn't know how." "You seem to know how to lie." Tears filled Jonathan's eyes. "I loved you. I still do." Grace looked away. "I don't love you anymore." Those words hurt more than the affair itself. Jonathan swallowed hard. "Is it him?" Grace didn't answer immediately. Then she whispered, "Yes." For the next hour, Jonathan asked questions. Not because he wanted every painful detail, but because he needed to understand how 18 years had fallen apart. Grace blamed routine. She blamed loneliness. She blamed feeling invisible. She blamed Jonathan's long work hours. Jonathan listened without interrupting. Then he asked, "Did I ever stop respecting you?" "No." "Did I ever abuse you?" "No." "Did I ever stop supporting you?" "No." "Then why didn't you simply tell me you were unhappy?" Grace didn't answer. Because there was no honest answer. She had chosen excitement over communication. Fantasy over commitment. Impulse over loyalty. 3 weeks later, Grace officially asked for a divorce. Jonathan didn't beg. He didn't yell. He didn't insult Liam. He simply signed the papers. His lawyer noticed how calm he seemed. "You sure?" Jonathan nodded. "You can't force someone to stay." Grace interpreted his calmness as proof she'd made the right decision. If he really loved me, she thought, he would have fought harder. What she didn't understand. Sometimes the deepest heartbreak is completely silent. The divorce settlement surprised everyone. Jonathan agreed to split nearly everything fairly. The house was sold. The savings divided. Grace walked away with a substantial amount of money. Friends warned her to be careful. Instead, she moved into a luxury apartment closer to Liam. She believed they were finally free to start the life they deserved. Liam celebrated by taking her to expensive restaurants. Weekend getaways. Luxury shopping trips. He constantly spoke about their future together. "Maybe we should invest. Maybe we should start a business. Maybe we should buy a place together." Grace happily agreed. She wanted to prove she trusted him completely. So she began paying. For vacations. For designer clothes. For expensive watches. For a brand new sports car Liam insisted would help him build his image as a fitness entrepreneur. Whenever Grace hesitated, Liam kissed her forehead. "You believe in me, don't you?" And every single time, she said yes. The first few months after the divorce felt like a dream. Grace woke up believing she had finally found the passion she'd been missing for years. Liam showered her with attention. He texted her every morning. Called her beautiful every night. Posted carefully chosen photos of them online. Friends who had once questioned her decision slowly stopped saying anything. Some even commented that she looked happier than ever. Grace took those compliments as proof she had made the right choice. Meanwhile, Jonathan quietly disappeared from social media. He sold the old family house. Moved into a modest townhouse, returned to work, and began rebuilding his life one ordinary day at a time. There were no dramatic speeches, no revenge, no public arguments. Just a man trying to survive a heartbreak he never asked for. Grace barely thought about Jonathan anymore. Whenever guilt crept into her mind, Liam knew exactly what to say. "Stop looking backward. You sacrificed enough. It's your turn to live." Those words became her new philosophy. She spent freely. Luxury vacations, designer handbags, fine dining, spa weekends. If something made Liam smile, Grace bought it. She convinced herself she wasn't spending money. She was investing in their future. Then Liam came to her with a new opportunity. "I found the perfect location." "For what?" "A private fitness studio." Grace smiled. "That's wonderful. I just need someone who believes in me." She didn't even ask to see a business plan. She withdrew another large portion of her divorce settlement. Nearly everything Jonathan had spent years helping save. Liam hugged her tightly. "I'll never forget this." Grace believed him. Months passed. The studio never opened. Whenever Grace asked about it, Liam always had another explanation. "The permits are delayed. The landlord backed out. My business partner disappeared. The contractor needs another payment." There was always another obstacle, always another reason he needed more money. Grace ignored the growing uneasiness inside her. Because admitting the truth would mean admitting everyone else had been right.